Let's go. The world's a better place because you're here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I'm the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. And it is a Tuesday into Wednesday, the 12th into the 13th, 2024. Let us recap football. Let us talk about week 10 in the NFL season and week 11 in the college football season here in one show for this week. Before we get into all of that, I want to remind you to like and subscribe to the Productive Conversations podcast on all podcast platforms and YouTube. And don't forget to check out exclusive content regarding this show across all social media platforms. On Instagram at Productive Conversations Podcast, X and Twitter at PodCobblePod. We're on TikTok at Productive Conversations and Facebook at Productive Conversations. And as always, thank you to our presenting sponsor, Magic Mind. To get your shot of Magic Mind, go to magicmind.com/PCMB. Use discount code PCMB20 for 48% off your first subscription, 20% off your first one-time purchase. Magic Mind, reclaim your brain. So yes, all right, as we are on the back nine of both the NFL and college football season, we are going to put this into one show this week, and we are going to have a good time talking all about them. Just as we head towards the end of the year, things get a little more busy, just so you know. Moving forward, we're going to keep this slot Tuesdays on Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we will be releasing, for the rest of the regular season, we will be releasing Tuesday podcast. So I should say this actually. So for the rest of the month of November, we will be doing football shows on Tuesdays. In December, when we head into meaningful December games, and when we head to, the end of the college football season, and especially with college football playoffs, we will be moving those. We will be doing shows every Tuesday up until the 8th of December. And then after the 8th, we will have our final. The regular season will be over. We will have our bowl game set. And then from there, we will get back to doing Mondays again. But for now, we're going to do Tuesdays, maybe some weeks Mondays as well. But at least for the rest of the month of November, we will be doing football shows on Tuesdays and releasing them on Tuesdays after Monday Night Football for the NFL. And then after the college football playoff rankings are released on Tuesdays. So that's what you have to know. Tuesdays will be our recaps of the NFL and college football seasons for the rest of the month of November. Then in December, we'll be back to Mondays. And then Mondays for the month of December. And then then we'll react on Sunday nights during January. And then the Super Bowl will be a reaction. We'll have his reaction the night of as well. So that's what you need to know. Tuesdays, football recaps will be released on Tuesdays for the rest of the month of November. December back on Mondays, and then January will be Sunday nights instant reaction, similar to what we did during the World Series for the NFL playoffs, and then the college football playoffs as well for the bigger games, like Final Four for college football and stuff like that. All right, so let's talk about the NFL first. Split it up into two halves, talking about the NFL first and then the college football season. So I want to hit on my local teams. I don't know what's worse, the Jets, or the Giants situation. Well, why don't we first talk about the Giants quickly? We knew this was going to be a bad season. 6.5 was the over/under. Can you be surprised? But I think the big thing and the obvious thing to note this time, that Daniel Jones is so cooked at this point. He might be his career might be eaten out once and for all, eaten alive. Whatever you want to say, eaten, destroyed, gone. With the clause in their contract wanting to make sure he doesn't get injured, because they would have to guarantee the money if he gets injured for the rest of the season. Going into the bye, and after playing absolutely horrendously against the former worst team in the NFL, now you have taken the realm from them, losing on a walk-off field goal in overtime. The Giants are absolutely donezo. Daniel Jones has a Daniel Jones game that we have seen for the last 5 years. 22 for 37, 190 yards and two interceptions, while Bryce Young, who everybody clowns in this league, only scored a touchdown. Only had 126 yards, but that was enough. Mostly the running game was the key for Carolina. You had crucial turnovers, whether Daniel Jones interceptions or Tyrone Tracy's very bad fumble in the beginning of overtime. And Malik Neighbors not having a good game. Nobody is making any progress on this team. And even after hearing Joe Shane speak to the media, really not saying a thing, keeping the faith. And this Munich game will likely go down in infamy as the end of Daniel Jones' Giants career. Adam Schefter reported he wouldn't be surprised if he saw his last snap as a Giant. And well, I'll have more to say when Daniel Jones is actually off this roster. Then we can have our retrospective on that. But even when I started the show 4 years ago, I complained about Daniel Jones. One of my first big football shows was complaining about him. And nothing's changed except the one season where the Giants actually put in some work and did well. And ultimately, that was a mistake, and we shouldn't have done well 2 years ago. I mean, what were you supposed to say? Don't play well? I guess if they paid Saquon instead of Daniel Jones, that would have been a different story. But clearly, the development of this team was extended by having a year where you went to the playoffs. But nothing is working. Players are hurt. Daniel Jones can't get it to his receivers. Everybody's eating him up. And like I said, the Panthers were the worst team in football. Now it's my favorite team, the Giants. No offense, no defense, no special teams, questionable coaching, horrendous GM work. And this is a garbage franchise right now. We'll still watch every week. We'll still cheer. But now at this moment, they are the second pick in the NFL draft with a lot of seasons still to go. And what a pathetic waste of time the Giants have been in 2024. Not much else to add with the Panthers. They're doing their thing. Go for them getting their win. And I'm disgusted. I'm upset. Done this time and time again with my favorite football team in the world. And here we are. Here we are. The Giants, they freaking stink. Try my best not to swear. I want to, but again, not much of a surprise, but what a fall from grace. And you want to talk about even worse fall from graces. Even teams that had legitimate expectations and teams that really, this could be one of the most disappointing teams of all time. The New York Jets might have had their season crumble to the end, even if they're technically not mathematically out, even if they think that they can win out. But an embarrassing loss to a very good Cardinal team, 6-31. And Kyler Murray only played his heart out, and the Cardinals win their fourth straight game. Aaron Rodgers doesn't hit the end zone, and Brees Hall get to eat it up. And then everything you like about the Cardinals came to life. Their running game was solid. Their receiving weapons were good. Well, Marvin Harrison Jr. had a bounce back game. Kyler Murray only had 2 dropped passes. And the Jets, who everybody was excited for, and maybe they truly ignored the signs that were there that they might not have a good season. But for a team with so many good players on their roster, they don't know how to play as a unit. Aaron Rodgers looks absolutely heartbroken and lost. He did what he can on McAfee, but the New York Jets, I think just a couple more. I mean, if you're not at laughing stock already, where are you? Cardinals are a good team. They are well coached. They have players. They are, in fact, probably underrated. But it looks like this is going to be their division to win. And after they a couple years ago were in a dark place. Now they're up on the rise, and the Jets look like they're going to continue their playoffless streak, and that they will add that to 14 seasons now. Have not been to there since 2010, and that's continuing on. But I mean, even with Devontae Adams being added, really didn't get any love until the end of the fourth quarter. And I mean, yeah, Rodgers isn't hitting his receivers. They're not protecting him, and everything is working for the Cardinals, and nothing is working for the Jets. Only 207 total yards for the entire game. They were 1.5 point favorites too. That was such a lock picking Cardinals plus 1.5. It's not even funny. I mean, wow. Besides Garrett Wilson, what else does this team have? They just have players, wasting another year, unfortunately. What a mess. What a disgrace. And the Jets get embarrassed 31-6. Good stuff from the Cardinals. Like I said, they're on the come up, and the Jets are clearly on the come down. This week in the NFL started off on a high note with a true back and forth battle between the Bengals and the Cardinals, where the Bengals and the Ravens, where the Ravens win by a score of 35-34, and they stop a 2-point conversion to ultimately seal the victory. And everything was working on both teams. Joe Burrow was killing it. 428 yards and 4 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson was killing it. In a battle, it was either Wallace or, Jamar Chase with unworldly numbers for his game. 264 yards only for a receiver, and 3 touchdowns, 11 receptions. While there was no defense whatsoever and it's hard to come by, it was ultimately a war of attrition, and it counted the most when they stopped the 2-point conversion. But yeah, that was one hell of a game. I still think the Bengals are clearly improving every single week. That seems to be the theme during the Joe Burrow era. And Lamar Jackson not being fazed by a big moment, continuing to keep on making big moves in what looks like an MVP season for him. What a great game. What a great game. And even with this loss, the Bengals should have their heads up high going in a big hostile environment and almost taking it. But things were a little different, maybe a couple of questionable calls by the refs. But ultimately, the Ravens get the 34-35 victory. We had the Broncos and Chiefs. It really looked like the Broncos were about to end the undefeated season for the Chiefs in a game where the Chiefs really didn't look all that special. The Broncos were stopping the run. The Broncos were making sure that Matt Mahomes didn't have an crazy game. They were pressuring him all day. They were giving him a hard time. Ultimately, it came down to a damn blocked field goal, and the Chiefs win again. I mean, they just can't keep getting away with this. Now 9-0, a flawed 9-0 team, with Patrick Mahomes not having a spectacular season. The offense isn't anything special. It's the defense keeping them in games, but the defense is still holding their own, and they even have some flaws as well. But yeah, we thought the undefeated streak was going to an end, but they once again get a lucky break, whether it's from the refs or whether it's from divine intervention or solid special teams play right here. The Chiefs win 16-14 off an exciting last play. And another thriller, we had the 28-27 back and forth battle between the Steelers and the Commanders. Even though the Commanders and Jaden Daniels with an impressive 27 points on a very great defense, the Steelers, Russell Wilson needing a big comeback. Mike Williams with the game-winning touchdown, some poetic Justin there. Russell Wilson looking like the old Russell Wilson. Jaden Daniels, despite not hitting the end zone, still played a solid game, but ultimately the more experienced team here gets the big victory. Very impressive stuff. Very fun to watch. And the Steelers just keep on proving every single week. They seem to find something here with Russell Wilson, shorter passes, facilitating the run game a little more because they have a underrated duo with Warren and Harris, and obviously the defense holding true. And the Steelers give the Commanders their first win at home this year, and yeah, good stuff from there. And the big thing is Steelers stop it, preventing the run, and making sure Jaden Daniels didn't hit the end zone. Didn't force a turnover, but it was a very, very good game throughout. The Vikings and Jaguars was a boring one, but an impressive. The Jaguars are a pretty scrappy team at home. We gotta give them credit there. But ultimately, with Sam Darnold throwing 3 interceptions, they had to really rely on the running game and shorter passes to returning TJ Hawkinson. And this could have gone either way, maybe a few extra breaks. Ultimately, the Jaguars, even though they gave up 402 total yards, they only prevented them from scoring. They only allowed them to score 12 points and 0 touchdowns, all on field goals. And yeah, I guess this is just with Mac Jones behind center and still not impressing anybody there. But who knows if they had a better quarterback or a stellar quarterback, or if T-Law wasn't hurt and he was reaching his full potential after getting paid, how different could this Jaguars team be? Because they went hard in free agency, and it seems to be for nothing so far at 2-8. And we'll see if Doug Peterson is here to stay after next year. But the Vikings get the scrappy victory in a defensive battle, if anything. Give credit to the Vikings only allowing 128 total yards to Jacksonville. The Falcons and Saints, with the Saints starting a new era with their brand new head coach. Darren Rizzi starts his head coaching career with a big victory over the Atlanta Falcons, giving them their first home loss. They ended their 7-game losing streak, and Derek Carr, things look better. The special teams coordinator comes in and gives the Saints some motivation. And look, they get a big win at home. They gave Kirk Cousins a hard time despite the 306 yards, and they did make him turn over the ball. Everything was looking. This is really, you look at it on paper. This was a frustrating loss for the Falcons, but when they needed to get to convert the third down, they couldn't do that. They could not reach the end zone. They had trouble in the red zone, and the Saints scored when it mattered the most. And even with a slow game from Alvin Kamara, and even with there were points where the Saints couldn't convert or make the big moves. Ultimately, they get a lucky break from a missed field goal from Koo, which would have tied the game. But ultimately, the Saints run away with it. And again, Rizzi gets his first win as a head coach in the NFL. Props there. Ultimately, I think the Falcons will be fine. Everything did work. They just could not score when they needed to, especially in the red zone. Too many missed opportunities. I expect them to bounce back, and especially taking advantage because the Buccaneers, with a absolutely tough loss against the 49ers. I got to give credit to Baker Mayfield, man. Imagine seeing the scary Nick Bosa coming at you, trying to will your team back to get a victory. You ultimately get the tying field goal with just 41 seconds left. And ultimately, the 49ers were able to have a good 2-minute drill and get a walk-off field goal from Jake Moody. Even though they had special teams issues throughout the game, that was their thing. The Buccaneers held their own. Remember, again, the Buccaneers don't have Godwin or Evans, but Baker Mayfield is making it work, with whether it's through the help of Bucky Irving or Rashad White playing a part. Cade Otton, the tight end, has been stepping up in the past few games, and they are protecting him. The offensive line stepping up. It's just the Buccaneers, they just have had some tough breaks, and they unfortunately get their 4th loss at home. They aren't that good in front of their home crowd, but Baker Mayfield's one scrappy dude, and that dude's got a lot of my respect. And obviously the big thing here is a returning Christian McCaffrey, and still rusty, only 13 carries, 39 yards, probably rusty. but it was the receiving game where he really strided 68 total yards. 68 receiving yards and hitting getting 6 of the 7 targets thrown to him. And the 49ers, I think, now back in a groove with the 49ers are healthy. And clearly they figured out other player makers, whether it's Pure Saul after his incident earlier in the season, getting shot, recovering, and then being a big part of their win this week. Um, Jordan Mason has proven if they ever need him to come in, he will put in work. And yeah, just as the 49ers, as long as they can stay healthy, I still think that they could be scrappy, especially because of how well coached they are. Bills and the Colts. Bills continue to strive, whether on offense or defense. And this wasn't as good of a game for Josh Allen as it could have been. It was more the running game and then the defense really helping them make moves and the defense scoring. But the Colts with Joe Flacco with the heck of a stat line for him and a scrappy loss, unfortunately. But the Bills wound up running away with it. They kept it close throughout. The defense was for Indy was giving a lot of pressure to Josh Allen. But ultimately, the Bills made less mistakes than the Colts, and they get the 30-20 victory right here. Patriots and the Bears, even with the changes the Bears made, continuing to not score touchdowns. Caleb Williams, even though some people say Veal vouch for him, barely hitting over 50% of his passes, only 120 yards. Seems that the Patriots have woken up since Coach Mayo called him out, and it's the running game. Drake May looking better each week. And yeah, the Bears are now, there's plenty to worry. The Bears get their first loss at home against the Patriot team, still rebuilding, but yet they can still pull off some big victories this season, even with only three wins. Having meaningful wins, whether meaningful win against the Jets or the Bears here. Now you wonder what is going to happen. It's just so frustrating sometimes for the number one overall pick here, Caleb Williams, with all the weapons that he has and still making them not look good. Sometimes Keenan Allen looks washed. DJ Moore could be very frustrated. Roma Duze's still having his growing pains as a rookie. And yeah, the running game isn't anything special either. So they are making switches at the coordinator position. Probably Eberflus is the one to go, but they are still somewhat in the hunt. So still have some meaningful games to play hard for. But Patriots win 19-3. Chargers and the Titans. Chargers with a big win. The Titans continuing to, you know, tank, I would have to say. It doesn't matter. I don't think Will Levis is here to stay, nor Mason Rudolph when they put him in. And the Chargers with Justin Herbert. Seems like whether it's the running game, again, another underrated with Edwards and Dobbins putting in work. Lad McConkey play sometimes it's McConkey's game, sometimes it's Quentin Johnson's game. They're protecting Justin Herbert. The Chargers are a really good team with a stellar Jim Harbaugh at the realm, and the Chargers are continuing to, be legit in this East AFC West division. Good stuff to watch for, very interesting. And yeah, the Titans really only have Calvin Ridley, and even their defense, which at times look pretty good, are still giving up too many points. Slowly seeing how the Cowboys are deteriorating in front of our eyes. Still don't have a win at home, and then in a crucial division game, they lose by a score of 34-16 against the Eagles. I've said the Eagles could be flawed at times, but now they are actually looking really good with Jalen Hurts playing better each and every single week. And as long as they stay healthy, clearly with returning AJ Brown, the Eagles are going to be a team to watch out for. They can win on the road, they can score points, and even their defense can stop the run when they need to. They can they can pressure the quarterback. And even though the Cowboys have had their injury issues and Dak is gone for the rest of the season, and there's the big shadow at this time of the year shining right on the field at the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah, the Cowboys, I think one more loss will end their season. Mike McCarthy's done. You know that. I mean, he's done already. Let's be real. But but the Cowboys looking worse and worse, and the Eagles are looking better and better and better. 34-6, Philly wins. And in this, the Texans and the Lions. Lions coming all the way back after being down 23-7 in the first half. They win by a score of 26-23. Thanks to Jake Bates being one of the best kickers in the game. Thanks to Jared Goff, even though he threw 5 interceptions, he still gets the win. 5 interceptions. And I mean, he really did play poorly, but yet good enough to keep the team in it, getting crucial yardage when they needed it. And Gibbs and Montgomery holding the team on their back. And the Texans now 6-4, losing their second straight. They really need a big win to bounce back. But it looks like at least Nico Collins is on his way back. Mixon looks really great at times. But with only Tank Dell, and he didn't have a special game, the Texans are doing what they can. I still think that they will figure it out. They're still a really good team with a solid offense still when healthy, and a pretty underrated defense. But ultimately, the Lions continuing to look like the best team in the NFC, especially after another big comeback victory. Very impressive on the road as well. Kudos to Detroit. And then Monday night, we had the Dolphins and the Rams, where the Dolphins with Tua and everybody contributing on offense, they get a big victory and they seal it. Tua playing at times frustratingly. At time you're frustrated at him trying to make tackles head first during turnovers, but ultimately they held it down. And give credit to Mike McDaniel being the guy to make these solid game plans, figuring out what to do with Los Angeles. And even though the LA Rams are still in it themselves, this was a very interesting back game on Monday night. Ultimately, the Dolphins, hey, if they can pull off a couple more victories, they still have 2 more games against the Jets. No, they still have 2 more games against the Jets that they can win. They still have It seems with as long as Tua's healthy, they got chances. So maybe they sneak in and can win a wild card, but they can't take any other games for granted from here on out. And same with the Rams. Also, still in it themselves, but can't take anything for granted. But interesting Monday night game with the Dolphins winning 23-15. Good stuff there. Now, why don't we hit on the college football very quickly? Let's specifically talk about the most updated 12-team bracket and how it works with the new rankings. And I mean, some other things top of my head. We had Miami fall to Georgia Tech. Oh man, I thought it would be another Cam Ward comeback, but it ultimately falls short. We had the LSU and Bama unofficial elimination game, where Bama takes the victory, just giving no chance to LSU whatsoever, no mercy. Jalen Milroe having a hell of a game. He makes some stellar moves here. Ole Miss knocking down Georgia. How about that for something? Carson Beck has to go as a Georgia quarterback. Bro just has to go. Notre Dame killing Florida State. Army continuing to stay undefeated. What else at the top of my head? We had Oregon putting up big numbers against Wisconsin. And yeah, as we are heading into these big rivalry games, only a few more weeks left in the regular season, I want to quickly hit on the college football playoff, the 12-team bracket. As expected, Oregon still is number one, still killing it in the Big Ten. And sorry, did I say against Wisconsin? Um, they killed it against Maryland this week. Big 39-18 victory. Dylan Gabriel making his push to be a Heisman Trophy winner. And just the way he leads the offense, that accurate arm, knows how to read defenses. And I really can't wait to see how the rest of the season goes with the Ducks, who I predicted to be winning the national championship this year. And with Texas, says beat down against Florida, even if Quinn Ewers get exposed in his personal life, Quinn Ewers can't get exposed on the field after a 5-touchdown game against Florida and throwing 333 yards coming off of their bye. They make a statement here in the SEC, and Georgia's loss gives them more comfort room with comfort in it. They gives them some more comfort and some room to play around with. Good stuff for the Texas Longhorns. They're at 2. The other by the BYU and Utah game with BYU's incredible comeback down to the last almost down to the last minute. BYU gets a big victory over a very good Utah team. I know a Utah team that has to be taken very seriously. But ultimately, BYU's third in the nation, continuing to stay undefeated, and they so far have a bye and are your Big 12 champions at this moment. Oh, sorry, I should say they're leading the Big 12. And even with Miami's close loss to Georgia Tech in this one, they are tied with Clemson at ACC. And though SMU is higher in the top 25 rankings, Miami has a higher. Miami just got the benefit of the doubt thanks to the help of the committee on this one. But watch it for SMU. That team knows how to score. But only 2 games to go for college football, and it's Miami right now has the other bye, so don't lose. Okay, so right now in the group of 5, Boise State continues to win. Ohio State is 5th. That would be interesting if those 2 teams would face off, and that'd be a campus site game. But Ohio State absolutely beating down on Purdue 45-0, and they are just waiting for a chance to see if they could sneak in there. Unfortunately for Ohio State, Oregon has the advantage on them. They did beat Ohio State 32-31 last month. So they're going to see if they somehow fall. But man, this is looking good for an Oregon undefeated season. Only a couple games to go there. As Notre Dame sets their spot, they definitely wish that Northern Illinois loss wasn't a thing. But right now they're ranked 9th, and they would go up against Tennessee, who's ranked 8th, and their big win against Mississippi State secures them this spot. And we'll see what happens with Tennessee and Georgia. That's going to be a hell of a game to watch, and how that unfolds. And Notre Dame should be coasting for the rest of the season. Then we had Alabama right now with their win over LSU. They're going up against the undefeated at this moment. Indiana is ranked 7th. They're undefeated. And them beating down Michigan, just killing the Michigan pride and continuing to be an impressive team. Alabama, even though they've had their highs and lows in Kellen DeBoer's first season as the head coach, right now the big statement victory over LSU, they will be gunning to stay in the top 12. And then Ole Miss at Penn State. With Ole Miss's victory over Georgia, right now Georgia is out, just one of the first 4 out. And then Penn State. With the big win over Washington, keeps them at the 6th spot, and Ole Miss at the 7th, and they've had quite a season. But this big victory but them knocking out, keeping Georgia out of the college football playoff at the moment, can only have people in Mississippi go crazy. But some other teams to watch out for, like I said, Clemson has some crucial games and they will have a big game against Miami. If they get the conference championship against each other, that'll be a stellar to watch. Obviously, Georgia still have some insurance, but one more loss from them can knock them out, as well as SMU. And then watch out for Texas A&M as well. And then we'll see if Colorado continuing to win, definitely is at least securing a bowl, and hopefully they still have their eyes on the prize and aren't focusing on the where Hunter and Shador are going in the NFL draft. Ultimately, they still have an opportunity, and I would like to see them make a push. I'm sure Coach Prime will do that. But ultimately, that will be our discussion for both college football and the NFL. We will officially be back here next Tuesday to go over week 11 of the NFL season and week 12 in college football. And I'm going to be just excited. I'm just going to be so freaking excited, like I know all of you are. And just quickly, some big things to watch out for. Commanders and Eagles on Thursday night is going to be very interesting for the division. That's a division battle right there on Thursday night, short week. Philly opening as a minus 3.5 point favorite. If Jaden Daniels can win in that hostile Philadelphia environment, that's going to be a big freaking statement, and you'll watch what he does. Ravens and Steelers is going to be crucial. Ravens going down to Pittsburgh for that one. Oh man, watch out for how that's going to go. And those are the ones that only ones that really stick out to me. Bears and Packers. Can the Packers continue to own the Bears even post Aaron in the post Aaron Rodgers era? Bears have the advantage at home, which they usually play well in, but only scoring 3 points last week. They need to clearly get some momentum back. I think the 49ers at Seahawks is going to be an interesting game. Their division, San Francisco opening minus 3.5. And then the game everybody's been waiting for to see if the Chiefs are going to lose out on a perfect season. This could be the undefeated season on the line. This will no doubt be the toughest matchup they have the rest of the year. The 9-0 Kansas City Chiefs are going to Buffalo for 425 primetime matchup, CBS, Nance, and Romo, where Buffalo's actually open as the minus 2.5 point favorite. I'm very intrigued to see how that goes. And even Sunday night's game with the Texans and the Chargers, that will have some juice. Both teams trying to continue to stay in the race and at least secure their wild card spot a little more. And the Texans and Cowboys, both team a big game in the state of Texas, where both teams are dying for victories. I won't say they break their season. Well, for Dallas it will. Maybe a little wiggle room for Houston, but they will take the win if they need to, obviously. And then just some other ones. We'll see the Utah Colorado team. Colorado game. Colorado could get that big victory at home. I think that'll be a big statement. Clemson with Pittsburgh right behind them in the rankings. Even Clemson at 20. Pittsburgh also getting some votes. That'll be interesting to see. At Pittsburgh, Clemson opening as a minus 10 point favorite. And then also just skimming through here. I think the Missouri, South Carolina will be interesting to see. And I think, the game of the week will have to be your Georgia and Texas. Also could be a win in your elimination game. Big season on the line there, 7:30 Saturday night. So lots to do, lots to look forward to, and we'll see you here on Tuesday to talk all about it. Thank you so much. My name is Matt Brown, and I'm the host of the Productive Conversations podcast, and we'll be back on Friday with another tweet cap. See you then.